Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories and we have an exclusive interview we're bringing your way on the back of the Attorney General's decision to go to the Supreme Court on the back of the Dr. Kasilato forcing case. But we're going to start with the Airbus saga and the Office of the Special Prosecutor stating that, well, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has his hands clean. We'll also delve into some other issues in respect of the Dr. Bawumia situation. And I'll tell you about which situation in question we'll be addressing. But joining me in the studio, he's National Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress. He's in the person of Sammy Gyamfi. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Is there a reason you are decked in white this morning?
Oh, of course. We're celebrating the victory God has given His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in the Airbus saga. Because certainly this victory is something to celebrate. It is something to shout about because God has prepared a table for John Mahama in the presence of his enemies.
I see.
He has vindicated his innocence. He has vindicated his integrity. 7.5 years after leaving office, our father, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, stands vindicated with unblemished integrity, unassailable integrity. A legacy of incorruptibility that demonstrates or shows that indeed this man, in the many years that he has been in public service, as Deputy Minister of State, Minister of State, Member of Parliament for 3 terms, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, and President of the Republic of Ghana, he served his nation dutifully in good conscience and with integrity. And not a scintilla of evidence exists to show that he engaged in any form of wrongdoing. He's been vindicated time and again. His enemies thought that they were going to bury him with this evil, concocted smear Airbus, propaganda.
Before you
but
go
once again, he's been vindicated, and that is why I'm in white, celebrating with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Okay, before we go on, we'll come back to
and Benjamin, I know that every lover of the truth, every lover of what is fair, what is just, will join us to celebrate this victory.
So you're saying that John Dramani Mahama is incorruptible and he's never been corrupt?
Never been corrupt and will never be corrupt, and his legacy is there for everybody to see. And that is why God keeps on vindicating him.
Answer this for me. Why is it that in that famous or infamous interview back then, when he was asked, have you ever been corrupt? He was caught dawdling. Are you asking whether I've been corrupt as an individual, as a public official? When I had that interview with him in 2020, September 14, 2020, I gave him an opportunity to explain himself again. And he did. But my question is, if he was that squeaky clean...
What was the explanation he gave you?
Oh, he mentioned that. I mean, he had never been that. And of course, when I posed that question to him, when that question was posed to him earlier, it may have caught him off guard. He didn't expect it coming. It wasn't part of there. But he had to answer it anyway. I don't know why he hesitated. I don't know why he reacted the way he did. But I bring it up because a lot of people keep going back to that and suggesting that he hesitated because he couldn't say the truth.
I don't know their understanding or definition of hesitation. We're having an interview now, okay? And anybody who understands what goes into an interview, communications, will tell you that there are times that you will come back with a question seeking clarity when something is not clear to you or when you even need time to organize your thoughts. So the fact that you ask me a question in an interview, a general question, and I ask you to drill down to specifics, I may be organizing my thoughts. It can be
corruption is corruption, Sammy Gyamfi.
No. Because he wanted to know the specific information the interviewer was interested in, so that he doesn't start from his childhood days and whether or not he was stealing meat from his mother's soup, or whether or not he was going to school as he ought. He wanted to know what area of his life the interviewer wanted to focus on. So he asked, are you interested in my life as a private citizen or as a public officer. The interviewer said, in general. And then he gave clear, direct answers to the question. That is the most important thing. So you cannot go and pick, like the mischievous characters do, that question which he asks for the purpose of seeking clarification on the intentions of the interviewer and say that, oh, because he sought clarification, it means he hesitated. He didn't hesitate at all. Right. The most important thing is that this man has spent the greater part of his life in public service. My brother, it is not easy to be MP for 3 terms, deputy minister, minister, vice president, and president, and still be able to beat your chest that, look, my hands are clean. I served my nation in good conscience and with integrity. I dare you to investigate me on any issue, and I will come out unscathed. He has shown this challenge a number of times because he knows that his record is squeaky clean. His integrity is intact. His integrity is unblemished. And he has dared the MPP times with that number. You recall some of the lies they concocted against him when he was president. Oh, Mahama spent $10 million to print presidential diaries. That was a lie told by no less a person than the then opposition leader, now President Akufo-Addo. Oh, President Mahama has stolen so much money, such that today he owns luxurious plush hotels in Dubai. He owns a yacht in Tokyo. Oh, President Mahama inflated the cost of the Rich Hospital project, the Kumasi Airport Rehabilitation Project, and so on. All these wicked lies, which were concocted by the evil Dankwa Buzia Dombo MPP tradition against John Mahama, have today fallen flat. They've all been exposed for what they were, pure lies and nothing else. Okay. And they thought that they were going to be lucky with this Airbus matter, which today the special prosecutor has probed extensively, thoroughly, and has come out with a report before me, which we are about to discuss, which has once again vindicated the integrity of John Mahama and proving that indeed his character is above board, his integrity remains intact because he's truly incorruptible. He's truly the leader Ghana needs to win the fight against corruption.
If you read the report, it depicts the fact that the president did not receive bribes or engage in any corrupt practice in relation to the purchase of the 3 military aircraft from aerospace giants Airbus, and that he did not allow the high offices of vice president or president to be used for corrupt practices during the negotiations for the purchase of the aircraft between 2009 and 2015. Yeah. And again, no public officials involved in the aircraft purchase were found to have also engaged in any wrongdoing. Yeah. So in other words, he's been exonerated. No evidence was adduced or established that bribes were paid. The employees of Airbus deceived Airbus or in terms of paying bribes, and that the OSP, like I said, was not able to find any evidence that the parties involved were a conduit for bribery. Yeah. But it talks about the fact that the president should not have put himself in the position, the former president, which he did. You see, I keep saying, like this morning, this morning, he was too close when it comes to involvement in the commercial negotiations. And I went back this morning, I was talking about the Ford Explorer saga, Burkinabe businessman, Kanazoe, and how you can tell the president had no negative intent. But look at how it ended. And he made mention of the fact that it was in the pool back then. Why did he have to go there? So when it comes to conflict of interest, do you agree that the president should not have gone there, should not have been that close to the negotiations?
Well, thank you very much, because this question helps us to start from the beginning of this transaction.
Which is where?
For people to understand why John Mahama was involved in the commercial negotiations in the first place. Because a lot of people have heard of Airbus. They don't even know what it is. And they don't know why John Mahama had to be involved in the negotiations. So let's break it down for them. And the background of this transaction is set out from paragraph 5.20 to paragraph 5.23. This is the background of the transaction that John Mahama provided to the special prosecutor when he was interrogated. Okay? Now, let me just summarize it for you. The decision was taken sometime in August 2008 when Kufuor and the MPP were in office for government to assist the Ghana Air Force replace their Fokker F-27 aircraft, which they use for peace missions, which according to the Air Force was in a bad state. So that conversation started in August of 2008. And there was a proposal for Ghana to buy what is called Spartan C-27 aircraft with a loan or a grant from the Americans. So Kufuor left office, Atta Mills became president, and his vice president was John Mahama. And you know that by convention, the vice president is the chairman of the Armed Forces Council. And under the Armed Forces, you have the Air Force. So this matter came before him. And when we took office, the Air Force went beyond what they were even contemplating in 2008 under Kufuor and said that, look, about 4 of their aircrafts were all in bad condition. And so they didn't want to jeopardize the lives of their men. They wanted all the 4 aircrafts changed. So the NDC Mills Mahama government tried to pursue what the Kufuor administration has started by buying the Spartan C-27 aircrafts from the Americans. But it turned out that they could not get the aircraft delivered by 2012. And that the price that they were contemplating in 2008 had changed drastically. It had increased. So they were compelled to then look for a new option. So the military command, the Ghana Air Force headquarters, in consultation with the Ministry of Defense, these are soldiers, experts, then did their own analysis and said, what other aircrafts can serve the same purpose at even a cheaper cost and can be delivered to us on time?
Right.
That is how come they fell on Airbus, what we call the CASA C-295 aircrafts.
Right.
So they, the military command, the Air Force, the Ministry of Defense, then took the decision that this is the aircraft we need.
All right.
And then they went.
For me, I don't want us to go through this.
No, hold on.
Situate for me how the former president and his brother come into the picture.
I'm going there. So then, that proposal was put before John Mahama and the government. And John Mahama was the chairman of the Armed Forces Council. And they saw that, yes, the proposals from Airbus was good. The price was competitive. Ghana was getting value for money. Cabinet approved it. And Parliament of Ghana, made up of NDC and MPP MPs, all unanimously approved that Ghana should go and buy 3 CASA 295 aircrafts from Airbus. Now, because John Mahama was the vice president and he was interested in Ghana getting a good deal, with good intentions, he participated in some of the negotiations. There were times that officers of Airbus visited Ghana and went to his office to brief him about the progress of the transaction. And anytime they went to brief him, there was another senior official of government, like the Ministry of Finance was there or the Attorney General was there. And as chairman of the Armed Forces Council, he was being given briefings on the status of the transaction and he was participating in the discussions. That was all. That was his role in the Airbus matter. So it is not like he was a busybody sitting somewhere who decided to intermeddle in the affairs of the military or the Ministry of Defense.
Let me, if I may read what the OSP says, I think it will situate it further as you proceed.
Yeah.
These few clauses. 6.7 says in the observations. Pardon me. in the observations of
I wanted us to
OSP.
go to 6.3 first.
No, I'll start from 6.7. You can go to 6.3 when it's your turn. The OSP found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an, I think I may have skipped a bit. Let me just go to, okay, I think I'll start from 6 point, maybe you're right, actually.
If I can just come in whilst you look for the paragraph.
No,
I know where you're going to. You're looking for the paragraph that talks about conflict of interest and all that. That should
okay,
be 6.8.
so it's 6.5. 6.5.
Okay.
I'll start from 6.5.
Okay.
The OSP investigation found no evidence that former President Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and his associates in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana of military transport aircraft from Airbus. And it appears to the OSP that the direct communication and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal were actuated by good intentions on the part of the former.
Yeah.
It also appears that Foster and his associates became involved as intermediaries in the Airbus-Ghana deal after the decision by the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft.
Can we hold there for us to discuss this?
Therefore, it seems that Foster's Airbus intermediary role at the time of his brother served as the vice president of Ghana was a case of luckless coincidence that attracted the disapproval of the UK and its authorities. And I have to add this because I know you speak lengthily on it. The OSP found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal between Airbus and the government of Ghana amounted to any corruption and corruption-related offense in respect of which the OSP has a mandate. And the final point, which is what I was making, 6.8. Yeah. However, it ought reasonably to have occurred to former President Mahama and the government of Ghana that the familial relationship between former President Mahama and Foster and the direct participation by former President Mahama in the communications and meetings with Airbus officials were bound to raise reasonable suspicions of improper conduct and dealings, notwithstanding any claims to good faith conduct and above-the-board dealings, especially in light of, and it goes on and on. How do you react to these? It has cleared him, exonerated. Yeah. Right? But he should have known better.
Okay. Now, first of all, let's help our audience to understand that no finding of conflict of interest was made by the Office of Special Prosecutor against John Mahama or his brother. It is very material and instructive to note that the Special Prosecutor found at paragraph 6.6 that Foster was introduced as an intermediary of Airbus in the Airbus-Ghana transaction after Ghana had already decided that it was going to buy the aircrafts from Airbus. It was after the fact that it was when Ghana had already, and when I say Ghana, I'm talking about the military command, the Air Force, the Ministry of Defense, not politicians, had already taken the decision that the best aircraft for our Air Force was the Casa 295, and they were going to buy that from Airbus. So if you read 6.6, can you read that? Can you read 6.6?
It also appears that Foster and his associates became involved as intermediaries in the Airbus-Ghana deal after the decision by the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft.
After the decision of the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft.
The OSP refers to it as a luckless coincidence.
Luckless coincidence. So it means that it is not because Mahama's brother was involved. That is why Ghana decided to go and buy aircrafts from a company that his brother was an intermediary of. That is settled, number one. Number two, the OSP also found at paragraph 6.16, I'm going to use you today as my deputy pastors. You know what the pastors do, so that we help people to understand this. Because I've seen a lot of people trying to put a spin on the report and create an impression that there was conflict of interest. But that is far. Nothing can be farther from the truth. Now, paragraph 6.16, the OSP finds that this Airbus we are talking about already had pre-existing agency deals with Mahama's brother in other African countries like Nigeria, like Rwanda, like Uganda. It is not like...
Do we know the nature of these deals?
Yes, it is there. So you read paragraph 6.16. It's there. Just read it, paragraph 6.16. And if you want, you can add paragraph 5.28, which is the account of Samuel Adam Foster, Mahama's brother. If you don't have it, let me just read it for you.
I have 6.16 here. But
so you read 6.16, I'll read 5.28. Yes.
Okay, under observations, right? The OSP's mutual legal assistance requested from the UK and US authorities.
No, 6.16.
Okay, then you read from where you are.
Okay, sure.
That's why I was asking whether...
Yeah, 6.16. It also appears to the OSP that the relationship between Airbus and Foster and his associates was neither one-off nor peculiar to the Airbus Ghana deal. Okay. Airbus had in place similar business partnership models with Foster and his associates in respect of business promotion in other African countries before the Airbus Ghana transaction. It settles it. That this is a man who was already doing business with Airbus in other African countries even before he came to Ghana. And if you look at 5.28, when Samuel Foster Mahama was asked to tell his own side of the story, this is what he said. On his part, Samuel Adam Foster stated that he unequivocally denied accusations against him, that he was involved in any bribery activities with Ghanaian public officials or any individuals on behalf of Airbus. He recounted that from late 2009 to approximately 2015-2016, he served legitimately as a consultant and business partner for Airbus, contributing across its sectors and compassing projects in Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, and Suriname as required by Airbus.
Okay, all the way to Suriname. And in 5.21, he goes to talk about the aftermath.
There could not have been
the Kenyan
a conflict of interest because this man was already doing business with Airbus. Number two, John Mahama was not involved in his engagement as an intermediary or an agent for Airbus. That is at paragraph 6.6.
Right.
John Mahama had no hand in that.
Right.
That is the finding of the special prosecutor.
Right.
Number three, this Samuel Adam Foster came into the deal when Ghana had already taken the decision to buy the aircrafts in question from Airbus. He could not have influenced Ghana's decision in any way. That is number three. Then, more importantly, to 6.8, which you read, the special prosecutor says, these are my findings, but he then proceeds to give an advice. That is his advice. We are not interested in his advice. But for whatever is worth, let's look at it. What does the advice say? He says that even though there was nothing wrong, Mahama had good intentions. There was no corruption, paragraph 6.6. There was no conflict of interest. There was no bribery whatsoever. He says that President Mahama should have known that people were bound to reasonably raise suspicions.
What's your reaction to that?
My reaction to that is that we are not interested in suspicions.
You don't agree with
him? We are
him?
Interested in the bottom line. The bottom line.
You don't agree with him? You don't agree that
I don't
even
agree
in corporate office,
yes,
the management of a country is like managing a big corp, but on a much larger scale.
I don't agree with him because
on a much larger scale, you don't agree, like in the US and other jurisdictions, that in your dealings, some things must be above the board.
So and sometimes what should you can avoid optics. He should have done what? He should have done what? He should have resigned as vice president. Because Ghana, the military, the Ministry of Defense had decided to do business with Airbus,
Could we have done this?
No, hold on. A company whose agent was his brother. So he should resign as vice president or what? Or he should check his responsibility as chairman of the armed forces council. What should he have done?
Could this have been executed without the former president getting involved the way in which he did? Could it have been done?
How How is that even possible? That he is chairman of the Ghana Armed Forces Council. The Ghana Armed Forces gets the approval of government and parliament to go and buy aircrafts. And that John Mahama cannot even meet officials of Airbus to know the status, because all the meetings had to do with he being briefed as the chairman of the Armed Forces Council about the status of the transaction. So briefings too, he can't take it because his brother is an agent of the campaign.
I don't think that is
what.
I don't think that's the point.
Because let's define
the tenure of the negotiations.
Let's define
across
the
negotiations.
Let's define what that role, the role John Mahama played. What was it? Meetings. Airbus officials will come to Ghana and they will say, we are going to the office of the vice president, who is the chairman of the Armed Forces Council. We want to go and brief him about the negotiations, specifications, where we have gotten to, and all that. So John Mahama should say, I will meet you.
Let me ask you this.
Because you have engaged an agent who is my brother.
Let me ask you
when the decision to buy the aircrafts predates the engagement of his brother as an agent. You're making. And his brother had no influence whatsoever on the transaction, which was even approved by the Parliament of Ghana.
Sammy Gyamfi, I want us to get the most out of this interaction. Go with me. Be that as it may, all you're saying, be that as it may, the former president wants to become president again.
Yeah.
Do you think after everything that has happened to him, the lampooning, the tags of corruption and all of that on the back of this Airbus SE deal, has he learned any lessons? Should there be lessons for the former president from this? Whatever the case may be, he's been exonerated.
Yeah, I will tell you.
Will there be lessons for him, the former president?
For me, in my humble opinion, the lessons for him is simple. The lessons for him are quite simple. That he served his nation dutifully. And when he gets that opportunity again to serve this nation on 7th of January 2025, inshallah, he must stick to his record of service with integrity and even do far more than he did in the periods that he got the opportunity to serve this country. You see, real leaders are defined not by the good things that happen to them, but even by the bad things they are taking through. It is in times of adversity that you appreciate the real character of good leaders. It's like gold. You cannot have gold in its pure state until it is taken through the fire. And you cannot appreciate the real character and vision of a leader until he's taken through the fire of accountability. John Mahama now is tried and tested. He's gone through the fire of accountability. As former vice president, former president, he has been interrogated, investigated by a statutory anti-corruption body. And he has come out squeaky clean, totally unscathed. And so this was a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
It is like what the Holy Book says, that all things work together for good to those who love God. This is a man after God's own heart, a man who clearly loves God. And so what the enemies meant for evil, God has turned it out, has turned it around as a testimony for him. Who would have known that in John Mahama's dealings with companies, he always had good intentions? If Akufo-Addo had not decided to file a complaint with the special prosecutor for John Mahama to investigate it, who would have known? Who would have known that John Mahama never took a bribe in the Airbus matter? Who would have known? This scandal would have been like a sword of Damocles hanging over his head. Who would have known? So the enemies thought they were burying him in the ground, like Joseph's brothers thought that they were selling him, to slave masters of Pharaoh. But they didn't know that John Mahama was a seed and he was going to sprout out of the ground, like Joseph ended up being Pharaoh's right-hand man in Egypt.
It's interesting.
So you see, that is what God has done. God works in mysterious ways. And that is why today, in spite of all the evil machinations of the MPP, the lies. You recall Akufo-Addo going to the bar conference to describe John Mahama as government official, one who took bribes in the Airbus matter. You recall the MPP holding a press conference castigating John Mahama over this matter. You recall that useless character who's Sammy Gyamfi.
Please,
I take it back.
Please.
But that funny character.
I don't think funny.
I'm talking about a guy who said that he was going to organize a demonstration.
Just make your point. I beg you. Withdraw the word funny. I beg you. I beg of you.
You see,
Sammy Gyamfi,
the problem
if you want us to proceed with this, please withdraw the word funny.
So he's not funny? You think he's a serious character?
Withdraw the word funny.
Okay, so what adjective do you think I should use?
You can use anything. I mean, something. When you say someone character is funny,
okay,
in our local context,
I have a better.
Have you withdrawn funny?
I have withdrawn that one.
Okay.
That mischievous, dubious character who doesn't tell the truth. I'm talking about Abua Papu Uzubempa, who said he was going to organize a press conference against John Mahama. He was going to John Mahama's office. Special prosecutor must investigate. You recall the noise they created in this country over this matter. All that has fallen flat. All that has been exposed. They were all, part of the smear campaign of the MPP to destroy the integrity of an innocent man, just like their forebears did to the founder of this nation, or Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And they castigated him. Nkrumah has brought Kankan Nyame to Ghana. Nkrumah has stolen money in the name of a Kosovo dam. He has used all our money to marry a white woman from Egypt. You recall all the wicked lies, the forebears of the Dankwa, Buzia, Dombu tradition peddled against Nkrumah. It is the same thing they are doing against Mahama. If they can't beat your vision, if they can't beat your track record, they come after your character. Okay. Foul means.
So let me say this. When you look at the reaction from the office of John Dramani Mahama, the first paragraph is all I'm reading. It says, the office of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama wishes to express profound satisfaction with the office of the Special Prosecutor's ruling, which exonerates the former president from allegations in the Airbus scandal. I'll just stay there. When you look at the reaction of the MPP to this, some have been pretty ferocious against the office of the Special Prosecutor. What is your viewpoint?
Sir Graves, my friend Dan Saboka. My friend Dan Saboka. You see, this whole thing, you see, the appointment of Martin Amidu, then Akufo-Addo directing his executive secretary to file a complaint with the OSP for Mahama to be investigated in the Airbus matter. It was all calculated to get something against John Mahama. They wanted that evidence so badly. Some of them said that by the time they were done with John Mahama's political career would be finished. John Mahama, they were going to prosecute him. They were going to disgrace him. They were going to embarrass him. So they wanted to exploit the anger of an NDC, a former NDC stalwart, John Mahama, Martin Amidu, against John Mahama, and say that, look, it is not us, it is Martin Amidu, NDC, near or I expose John Mahama. And Martin Amidu saw through their shenanigans. And that is why Martin Amidu published an article sometime last year in which he called out the President Akufo-Addo, for mounting incessant pressure on him to indict John Mahama at all costs. Look at how devious these guys can be.
It's good you've gone the way of Martin Amidu, because when you're done, I'll also touch a bit on something else he's written.
Because this is Martin Amidu. He says that in a statement copied to Ghana Web, Martin Amidu, a former Minister for Justice and former Attorney General, accused the President of putting pressure on the Office of Special Prosecutor to revive the investigation into the Airbus scandal for political benefit. He told the President to focus on the corruption in his government and stop trying to revive the Airbus investigation, which he indicated is in coma. And you see, in all these things, one thing that I want to highlight is that the finding of the OSP, which our friends in the MPP wants to bastardize, is the same finding the UK Serious Fraud Office made in the matter. They say, so what is their beef? Look, the Special Prosecutor ended his press conference yesterday by referencing a letter that the UK SFO wrote to John Mahama's brother when they were through when they were done with their investigations. And this is what is contained in the letter. This, Kwesi Bruni Neka say, this is not Kisiye Jabe. I just want to read the relevant portions.
Point made there.
No, let me read this.
Just that little paragraph.
That what the special prosecutor is saying,
let's get down to it, because
is on all fours with what the UKSFO has said.
Let's get down to it quickly.
Criminal investigations into Airbus, SC and others. I write to notify you that following a review of the evidence in your case, this is Samuel Adam Foster, Mahama, John Mahama's brother, they are writing to, and consideration of the code for Crown prosecutors, a decision has been made that you are not to be prosecuted for any offense in respect of the above serious fraud investigations. That is what is in the letter. And they say that they can reconsider the decision if they get new evidence or if they find from their further review that they were wrong. And the special prosecutor says that from his checks, it has not come to the notice of the OSP that the SFO has reconsidered his
Okay, how do you react?
So as it stands,
how do you react,
the UK has acquitted John Mahama's brother, and the OSP in Ghana has found the same thing.
That is pretty clear. But how do you react, though? You mentioned Martin Amidu, and it's good you did, because in a recent reaction on the back of, that petition that was sent to the president in respect of the OSP, and the OSP has been cleared that there was no prima facie case per the Chief Justice. In that document, Martin Amidu writes, apart from acquiring all the immigration records of entry and departure from Ghana of Samuel Adam Mahama, and I'm sure you are privy to that, Foster, and his UK friends as part of the Airbus SE Ghana corruption investigation, I managed to secure bank accounts and statements of Samuel Adam Foster as supporting evidence. I also showed the investigation or investigative team the office of Abu Sakara Foster at the T-junction, it goes on and on, in case he was required for interrogation. This is how thorough the Airbus SE investigation was conducted by the OSP under my watch before I postponed the investigation. But it is interesting. In the very next paragraph, he says, I never published the foregoing salacious, you know what that word means, salacious facts which would have affected the 2020 elections, including the names of the hotels and apartments Samuel Adam Foster and his UK friends stayed in while in Accra for the corruption transactions facilitated by his elder brother, John Mahama. Why do you think Martin Amidu said this? Sour grapes as well?
Number one, let's put on record that this same Martin Amidu said that there was nothing in the Airbus matter and that pressure was being put on him by Akufo-Addo to pursue the matter or investigate the matter for political benefit. That is settled, okay?
I want you to do maximum 2 minutes on this.
Yes, number two, maximum. He talks about monies he found in the bank statement of Samuel Mahama. The OSP has found that all the monies paid by Airbus to Samuel Mahama was legitimate, if any monies were paid to him at all, because he was their agent, not only for the Ghana deal, but for similar deals in Nigeria, in Rwanda, in Uganda. And his work was totally legal. So if you find any money whatsoever in his bank account, it doesn't make it illegal. So that is also settled. Also, the issue of Martin Amidu says that he didn't put out salacious information about what? Names of hotels. What would names of hotels that Samuel Mahama and his business partners lodge in? What will that show? It will show nothing. So that is inconsequential. But the most important thing is that after what you read, okay, he says that the reason why he did not publish what he describes as salacious information is because it would have been unethical for him to do so, given the fact that
ahead of the election.
No, not ahead of the election only, but because he had not.
That.
No, because he had not interrogated Samuel Mahama.
Okay.
And he's a lawyer. He knows that there is the rule of odi oterem pattern. That a man.
Let's listen to the other
side.
A
man cannot be judged on head. So until you listen to the other side, any information you have is nothing. You can't stand on it in law. It is totally bogus. You understand?
Okay, so as far as
you can't do anything with this publication and the quotations you read.
Okay. On the back of what happened yesterday, the pronouncement by the OSP, this has also been trending, and so I had to bring it up to hear your side of the argument. But moving on from there, and we've capped off with the Airbus issue, there's also the bit about sole sourcing in that recent Moment of Truth interaction. You titled it, Unpacking the Overpriced Sole Sourced Contracts Awarded to the Bawumiers. I want us to spend about some 4 or 5 minutes on that. What exactly do you mean? I'm looking at your statement now, but what is the thrust of it?
You see,
and sole sourcing is not new anyway, is it?
It's so sad. Yeah, sole sourcing is not new. Sole sourcing is permitted by the public procurement law under certain exceptional circumstances. What are these exceptional circumstances? Exclusivity, urgency as a result of unforeseen circumstances, emergency situations, okay, compatibility, uniformity, and so on. So there are some exceptional circumstances under which the law allows you to do sole sourcing. But the general rule is that all government procurements must go through competitive tendering so that the state can get value for money. It is only when the exceptional circumstances listed under Section 40 of the procurement law exist that the government can seek approval to do sole sourcing. But you see, in opposition, the NPP took a more radical view than this view that you and I have on sole sourcing. As for them, sole sourcing was corruption. So Akufo-Addo, in August of 2016, before the election, tweeted that the era of sole sourcing will come to an end. If it was legal, why did Akufo-Addo say that sole sourcing will come to an end under his presidency? He actually created a whole ministry headed by Adwoa Safo to fight sole sourcing. But Wumia said that Mahama was overpricing contracts through sole sourcing. He told appointees in 2017 not to abuse sole sourcing. He said they will abolish rampant sole sourcing and all that. After all the noise about sole sourcing, the NPP made in opposition, led by Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. My brother, it is sad, it is sickening, it is shocking that countless juicy contracts have been awarded to a company called Resource Access Limited, owned by Bawumia's brother Abraham Bawumia and his wife Aneta Kaminska Bawumia.
How did you establish
and all the contracts?
How did you establish this?
And all the contracts were awarded through sole sourcing illegally. All the contracts are overpriced. Now, the evidence we put out during the press conference, we projected it for everybody to see. I will quickly forward them to you so that at least you can also attest to
I have your statement, but I just want you to...
Yeah, the evidence is that number one, 2 Cocoa Road projects were awarded to this company in 2020. There are PPA documentations that show that the 2 road projects,
the Public Procurement Authority,
i.e. Asenya Kropon Odomasia Sibrim Road, 22.18 kilometers, and Chibuso Hasowodre Bangalore Feeder Road, 14.5 kilometers, awarded through sole sourcing. Now, the Auditor General has done an audit on this matter. So this is not Sammy Gyamfi talking. And if you check the performance audit report of the Auditor General on the construction of Cocoa Roads, paragraph 58 says that Cocoa Board awarded 266 road contracts, which included these 2 for Cocoa Road Improvement Program 2, measuring the total length of, then he goes on. He says that 33 were through competitive bidding, 175 were through sole sourcing, and 58 through restrictive tendering. Thus, 87% of the projects were not procured through open competitive routes. Then you come to paragraph 65 because of time. Cocoa Board did not rigorously analyze its procurement options for value for money, but sought approval from PPA for single source sourcing and restricted tendering, thus procuring contracts which were up to 3 times more expensive than they could have been obtained through competitive tendering. And if you read paragraph 61, the Auditor General says that the sole source approvals did not meet all the requirements of the public procurement law. So the fact that the contracts, we are not saying that Bawumia's brother cannot do business like they did to President Mahama and his brother, who is a well-accomplished businessman,
right,
who did things for free for the country, like the dredging of Odo, and yet the NPP castigated him. We are not like that. We are saying that your brother can do business, but the contract should be legal. Don't give him illegal sole source contracts. And the contracts should offer value for money. They should not be overpriced. The Auditor General is saying that in the case of these 2 Cocoa Road projects, which cost the taxpayer 83 million cedis, that is 830 billion cedis, we could have paid 1/3 the price, meaning that we have lost over 60 million, equivalent to 600 billion, as a result of Bawumia's greed and selfishness. Now, aside this contract...
You're not referring to the vice president himself. Is it fair to bring his name into this?
Of course, because...
State it as though he were the one personally involved.
When they were saying they will not run a family and friends government, what did they mean by that? When they were saying that John Mahama has given Ghana's bauxite to his brother, what did they mean by that?
Let me ask you,
the point here is that we have put out 6 contracts awarded to this company.
Right.
Which also includes the Sunyane Airport Rehabilitation Project.
Right.
All the contracts, 25 million cedis,
right,
for patching of potholes, painting of an existing terminal, and 120 meter, 30 meters wide runway of asphalt, costing the taxpayer 52.25.
You know the interesting question?
Because there was no competitive tendering.
The interesting question on the back of all this, and the last thing I want us to do is the appeal of the auditor.
Yeah, but let's finish this one. That one
but the final question on for me is this.
Yeah.
You keep talking about all of these. We've heard this before. Before the MPP came to power, the first time in 2000, stuff like this was said. 2008, when the NDC was coming, stuff like this was said. Now we're in 2024, stuff like this is being said. If indeed these people are culpable, my question to you, Sammy Gyamfi, straight answer. If the NDC comes to power, what will you do about some of these situations? That's what ordinary Ghanaians are concerned about. We are not concerned about this person, he said, she said. Are these people going to go to court? Will we see a finality to the matter?
Ben, read my lips. People will face the music of accountability relative to these shady, sleazy, dubious, inflated deals which have shortchanged this nation and made the suffering people of Ghana lose millions of cedis which could have been invested in productive ventures to improve our lives. Make no mistake about it. That NDC of Father for All is the old NDC. We, this current breed, there is nothing like Father for All in us.
All right, my final
Even John Mahama, hold on. Even John Mahama, the protege of Atamil, says he's been exorcised of the Father for All spirit. Right. It doesn't mean that he's going to be a father for a few people. No, he'll be father for every Ghanaian.
Right.
But he is not going to show any level or a modicum of leniency to anybody who is found culpable.
The AG has appealed to the Supreme Court
prosecutions to go on
to reverse the Court of Appeal decision to acquit and discharged.
Prosecutions to go on, and stolen monies will be retrieved for the right investments and for the right development.
Point made. Let's stay in the courts. The AG is back in court. He's appealing the decision by the Court of Appeal on Atoforsen and Jakpa.
So your reaction? Where's the news? This is the dead matter.
What's your reaction?
He said he will file an appeal and he has filed.
The question is, how free are Dr. Kassim Atoforsen and Richard Jakpa? Because it appears...
Maza, haven't you read...
The Apex Court's ruling?
Haven't you read the judgment of the Court of Appeal? The man has been disgraced. He's a sour loser. So he has...
The AG is a sour loser.
Of course.
How has he been disgraced? He says he's protecting the public purse.
Masa, have you seen an attorney general take a high-profile case like this to court against politically exposed persons, and the case doesn't even cross the threshold of submission of no case? What will be that?
Are you suggesting he's going to lose at the Supreme Court as well?
From the days of Obeda Samoa as Attorney General to Martin Amidu to Akufo-Addo to Ayikweo to all those Attorney Generals, whoever took such a high-profile case to court and the case was thrown out at the submission of no case level. In other words, the matter was so frivolous.
But the High Court was hearing the case.
Listen, and the higher court says the High Court had no business ordering the defendants to even open their defense. Because the case is bogus. The case is fraudulent. The case was cooked to kick out a leader of the opposition who was seen by government as a thorn in their flesh, obstructing their bad policies. They wanted to get him out because, according to them, fancies are cheap. So they thought that if they could use the court to kick out Atoforsen, they could win the seat through a by-election by buying votes. That is what Godfrey Tame, that disgraceful character. Yes, he's disgraceful. No. He's unprofessional. He has engaged in criminal contact. My brother, disgraceful is even charitable.
An attorney general
I suggest that you withdraw it.
Never, Benjamin, you will never. An attorney general who engages a represent party in extrajudicial communication.
So you will not show me respect by withdrawing.
An attorney general
so
who tells
me.
An attorney general who tells Richard.
So you want to show disrespect?
If it was you, would you have told me to withdraw? If it was you that Godfrey Dame conspired against.
The word disgraceful.
Disgraceful is being charitable.
That you take it away.
He is wicked.
Use a different word.
He is dubious.
Can you withdraw disgraceful?
What, disgraceful?
Yes.
He is.
Can you withdraw disgraceful?
He is a shame. He's a walking shame. He's a package of shame. You go and meet Jakpa and you tell him,
Sammy Gyamfi,
come and lie to a court that
we have to end the conversation.
When Jakpa says he was fit as a fiddle.
Right.
We
have to end the conversation.
A devious character. And he is telling us that what? He has filed an appeal?
Is National Communications Officer.
We will meet him in court.
He is National Communications Officer of the NDC, and he joined us here for this exhaustive conversation. Before we go to the next leg of our conversations, the Energy Commission and the Ministry of Energy present the 5th edition of the Energy Commission's Senior High Schools Renewable Energy Challenge. This challenge aims at developing the research skills of senior high school students and promoting technological innovation in renewable energy. The competing schools for the northern sector are Ola Girls SHS, St. James Seminary SHS, Nkranza Technical Institute, YSHS, Ndewura Jakpa SHS, Dabokwa Technical Institute, Notre Dame Seminary SHS, and Wale Wale SHTS. Now, if you come to the Southern Belt, the competing schools are Ahantaman Girls SHS, Infantipim School, Wesley Grammar SHS, St. Rose's SHS, Kpando SHS, Rara SHS, Obuasi SHTS, and Wale Wale SHTS. So join us for the Northern Zonal Challenge on Saturday, the 10th of August, 2024 at 12 p.m. Live on Joy News at the Engineering Auditorium, KNUST Kumasi, and at the Great Hall on Monday, 12th August, 2024 at 10 a.m. for the Southern Zonal Challenge. This event is proudly supported by GIZ, Ashesi University, and the VRA. The media partner, Joy News. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.